Hi guys, Victoria here. Welcome back to our channel. So I wanted to do this video because tongue tie is something that we really obviously had no experience of. I'd heard of it but didn't know much about it. So when Isaac was born and I was told he had a severe tongue tie and that they thought breastfeeding was going to be a real struggle, it was obviously a bit of a shock. So what I want to do in this video is talk you through our experience and what we've done about it and how our breastfeeding journey has been amongst the situation with the tongue tie. Isaac's downstairs with Adam at the moment. He fell asleep, so he's stayed down there, but I'm sure at some point in this video he will wake up and make an appearance. So it was when Isaac was born, I immediately tried to latch him onto the breast. He was really trying, but it just wasn't working. We just kept working at it for the sort of first hour and a half, and no one mentioned tongue tie to me at all at this point. They just said it might take some time for him and I to learn exactly what to do. So we just kept trying, and then I had a situation where our midwives swapped and a new midwife arrived, and she checked Isaac out and she said to me, there's no way you're going to be able to breastfeed. He has a severe tongue tie, so you need to start thinking about formula. I have quite a sort of strong reaction to this now because when you've just given birth, you are in a very vulnerable situation, whether it went to plan or didn't go to plan, whether you're having to have stitches afterwards or whether you're fine. You know, you've been through a huge ordeal emotionally, physically. And when you're hoping to breastfeed, which I was, and I'd never really considered that I wouldn't be able to, or we'd have to think about anything else, when you're suddenly told that you can't do that, you're not going to be able to do it, it's a huge shock. It was about 4 hours after, because Adam had just left to go and get some other bits that we needed and then come back. So when I was told that, I was on my own, and I really wish he'd have been there still at that point, because I think he would have asked the questions and challenged her more on why that was, whereas I was feeling, like I said, quite vulnerable, and I just didn't ask any questions at that point. I just presumed she knew best, and I sort of kept my disappointment inside and started to ask, obviously, what do I have to do next? And she said I needed to hand express the colostrum so that he would get the colostrum immediately. And so I started doing that, and that took me 2 hours to hand express just over a syringe of colostrum for Isaac to have as his first feed. So then we got taken up to the ward, and I still hadn't done a full feed with him, and it was about 6 to 8 hours old at this point. And we went upstairs, and then I had access to a new midwife upstairs who came and said, you know, how has he fed so far? And I said, well, he hasn't. He's had the colostrum, but he has a very severe tongue tie, and I don't have any formula with me. I don't know what to do. And she said, well, you can still breastfeed if he's got a tongue tie. And I was like, what? No, this woman said I couldn't. I said, no, the previous midwife said it's really severe and it's not going to work. And this midwife, who I'm so thankful for, sat with me, and we really worked at it for probably 45 minutes to an hour to make sure Isaac could get a latch that worked for him and that worked for me, and we got him feeding. So the first thing I would say is be prepared that if they tell you that your child, your newborn, has a tongue tie, just be prepared to ask some questions about what type of tongue tie it is. And if the midwife is giving you answers that you're not happy with, don't be scared to ask a different midwife for an opinion, because if I'd have taken that first opinion, then we'd have never done any more breastfeeding. And breastfeeding has been one of my absolute favourite parts of our journey. It's been one of the hardest, definitely, and we've constantly had to rework at getting the latch right, but it's been something that I really wanted to do, and it's now one of my favourite things that happens every single day, is that time that we get together when Isaac is feeding. So although we were able to get him breastfeeding, we did continue to see some issues that were obviously caused by the tongue tie, and these include things like him slipping off the breast quite a lot. He started to get quite frustrated at having to relatch all of the time, and he was never draining the breasts fully, so I'd have to pump after each feed in order to encourage my milk flow to come in, because I was suffering from not having enough milk at the beginning to give to him, and that was because he wasn't able to signal to my body by draining the breast that he needed more milk. We decided to go to the hospital and have his tongue tie snipped. Hello! I said you might make an appearance, didn't I? Yes! Do you see yourself? Good boy. Got dungarees on today, haven't you? Thank you. All right, darling. So even though, as I've said, we were able to continue breastfeeding, we managed about 12 weeks of breastfeeding with Isaac's tongue tie still very prominent. It was one that was right from the front of his tongue back. We did decide to have this snipped in order to help him continue breastfeeding going forward, because it was something that I knew I wanted to do for as long as I can and as long as I want to. I was very nervous about this as a procedure, seeing your little one go into hospital, even just to have the tiniest thing. I mean, you'll know from having their jabs done and things like that, you definitely feel it's definitely more of an ordeal for you as a parent than it is for them as a little one. But it was a very, very simple procedure. We were booked in at the hospital, we went in, Adam came with me. We had, they're so tiny and you have to see them up on this big adult hospital bed, but they just wrapped his arms in a blanket so that he couldn't go sort of lashing out, and the surgeon just very gently put his finger inside, felt the tie and said, you know, that it was a very severe one, and so we were doing the right thing, he felt, in order to get it snipped. And honestly, within less than a second, he'd just done it. Adam watched it. I was sat by the desk. I didn't want to watch at all, but Adam likes watching these things. And it was just done, and he didn't cry. There's a room next door, you go there. I was able to then feed him immediately. The breast milk obviously helps to heal any little cuts or anything. And it also helped us to see immediately that he was obviously able to latch in a much stronger way. And it has been very positive since then. We'd had some issues early on with his weight not increasing how they'd wanted it to, and again that was put down to the tongue tie, and since then his weight has been flying up, so we know we made the right decision to have it sorted. So there was no pain for him at the actual thing, but a couple of hours later I think there must have been a bit of swelling or something, because he got a little bit distressed, a bit frustrated. He just didn't understand that things felt different in his mouth. And yeah. Can you see yourself? Look at you. I need to brush your hair. The longest hair ever for a 16-week-old baby. The more I talk about tongue tie, the more I realise that it's something that a lot of people have had experience with. My sister had a tongue tie and my mum actually didn't have it cut, and it sorted itself out on its own, and she's never had any problems at all. So my advice would also be that no two tongue ties are the same. So make sure that you're getting lots of different opinions on whether you want to do something about it or not. I'm very, very pleased that we did something about it, because our breastfeeding journey has been so much better since then, and he's really been feeding just so much better, and I don't have to pump after every feed now because he's fully draining each breast and bringing my milk in. So I think that's everything that you would want to know. It's something obviously not to be worried about, and if somebody says that it's going to make breastfeeding impossible, don't listen to them, because we're 16 weeks in and we've been exclusively breastfeeding, apart from the odd bit of pumped express milk at the beginning. And yeah, so our journey has been exactly how we wanted it to be, but with a few little problems at the beginning. So thanks so much, guys. Please do subscribe to our channel if you've not already, and give this video a like and a comment, and do share your experiences of children with tongue ties below, as I'd love to get as many different opinions on this video as possible. Take care, guys. See you soon. Say bye, Isaac. Bye. Yeah.